So this is the practice I wanted to do today. I wanted you to enjoy this. This is fun. It's very relaxing. Not a lot of supplies. You can just use I have a pen, pencil, an eraser if you want, your object, whatever that is. These were the doodles. So I'm going to pick, and I want to just explain the process before I start to draw. So the process is we make a few drawings of our objects. So I'm going to do that here. I'm going to make a spiral probably somewhere here. I may do another one and another one, but with my pencil, and then I'll outline it with my black pen to give it just some contrast. And then afterwards, we think of the object and what does it mean to us. Like with these were doodles, and I came up with a new word, and I think, Melissa, you might laugh. I think you might appreciate it. The word Zentangle, well, I wrote Zentanglish.
I love it.
I think it's like my new word, Zentanglish.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if they'll get mad at me, but I think it's fun. So I wrote, and this is what I did was I isolated, well, first I did the writing, okay. So I had my doodles, and I wrote things about those doodles or about what it means to doodle. So in this one, and this was nothing planned, I just started writing. I started writing very slowly and trying different fonts, different style, I went very slowly, and I was just writing, doodling, Zentanglish, or mindful drawing is a good practice for the mind and soul. It comes and allows a flow of creativity as a way of meditation. There are so many benefits to drawing repetitive patterns. Slow down the lines, and your heart will beat in a dance of life. Take a few moments and draw with intention. You will be calmer and happier as a result. And I wrote doodle love, Zentanglish, spoken here. And I just did that this morning, and I had such a blast doing that. And it was totally, I wasn't planning. And I thought, well, that's a pretty nice little flow of words even. And that was because I wasn't trying. I wasn't like, oh, I need to make something really important. I'm in my journal, just like your journal is your place to experiment. And I could turn this into a poster possibly, or something similar. But if I didn't, it's okay. It's just in my journal. So here's another one. I wrote another thought about doodling because there it is. Here's my doodles. And I just wrote around it. And I wrote draw, paint, repeat for mental health and physical well-being. And I put repeat, repeat, repeat. Stay in the moment. Just draw slowly and mindfully. Breathe out, breathe in, let go of all expectations. Be grateful for everything as it is right now. Life is short. Eat the cupcake. That's kind of my thing. Enjoy the ride. It's all good. Art is for the soul. So, that was just another little flow of words that this doodling practice, Zentanglish practice, does for me. It gives me a lot of peace. So here, we're not going to do repetitive patterns. We've got something in front of us. Hopefully you'll have a rock or a leaf or something that is, special to you. And this particular little beautiful spiral is very special to me. It's actually, it was owned by the woman who lived in this home before I did, and she was a friend. And she was a rock collector, and this was one of her prized little pieces. And it's a fossil, and I really, really love it because it means, it's bringing back memories of her, but the spiral has its own meaning. So I have a pencil here. I'm just going to use my mechanical pencil because I like to draw with them. I know that's, a lot of people like graphite, but I like these because they're clean. They don't smudge as much. So I'm going to go ahead, and I'm just going to have this in my hand, and I'm going to draw, I don't want it in the total center. I think I'm going to start maybe down here. So I'm going to start to draw my spiral. And a spiral is actually a beautiful thing because it kind of goes, and it starts out small and it goes outward, and then it becomes all the way till practically infinity, right? So I'm just going to do my shell, though. This is a shell, so I'm going to just draw it as I see it, as much as I can. And whatever you're drawing and whatever you have in your hand, or what's in front of you, it really doesn't have to be a perfect representation of your piece. It could just be an impression of it. Like here I could see there's my shell, and then I see these beautiful little lines. I'm going to start to build upon that. So I see a little wavy line that goes here and then down here. And I just want to just kind of observe whatever you are seeing. Just kind of try to, it takes mindfulness. It takes a little concentration. Really what you see, try not, you don't need to, it's kind of like contour drawing in the art class world. You're not really trying to get a perfect representation. I mean, I'm not going to even worry about making it exactly how it looks. I'm just going to feel this feeling of how it feels. And I'm observing very carefully what I'm looking at. Of course, I'm talking now. At the same time, it's a little harder when you're talking. So for you, just look at what your piece and just try to get that feeling of that, whatever it is you're working with. If it's a leaf, look at the, maybe draw the outside and then start to look at the veins and just see what they do. What do they, how do they connect to each other? How are they connected? That's probably the most important. Where does it start? Where does the growth start? I've always been interested. Well, of course, we kind of see leaves when out in the world, we see these things. So, just kind of observe whatever you are holding in your hand and kind of just get some, there we go. I'm just going to make that like that. And I'm going to probably thicken this line, but at least I've got like a really fun little, almost like a portrait of this little beautiful spiral shell thing that I'm holding. And what I'll do is look at the backside and I could see that it's kind of an interesting, it has an interesting three-dimensional, there we go, like that. So there's my spiral, my shell. And I might just do a spiral now that I have this. I might just do a spiral doodle because I'm in that mood of doing that. And I'll start out really small. And spirals are great because, snails and all kinds of things have spirals. So I'm going to do I want to do 3, something in the groups of 3. So I think I'll do a third one maybe right here. And I'll go in a different direction than I did at the other one. And then so I've got my shell or my fossil, which was a shell at one time. It was a sea creature. It's in thousands and thousands of years ago. So I'm going to put that aside. And I'm seeing shadows. I'm looking at the light and the shadows. And those are things that you can draw if you want. But for this one, I'm going to take my pen now. And I'm going to keep looking at my shell or my spiral, whatever I've got. And now I'm going to go in and I'm going to use my pen to really bring out the contrast and I'm going to just kind of keep drawing and rendering it. And I don't want it to be a perfect doodle. I'm going to look at the color here, and I'm seeing where it needs, the lines are thicker and thinner. So I'm just going to follow that design. I'm just going to do this, watch this happen like this. Just kind of following the pattern of what I see. You can see, I'll just put that right here. And in case you want to draw my spiral, there it is. It's such a beautiful thing. I'm going to leave that right there if you wanted to look at that. So just now slowly with your pen, just kind of follow those lines. And you can readjust your marks depending. I mean, the pencil is a guide, but if you see other things within, you can just kind of build that. But your pencil or your pen can give you more definition, but your pencil is kind of a nice way to kind of break the ice, get that drawing started. And then you can get a lot more going on with your pen. You can enhance areas. You can really make it, kind of change it a little bit. So I'm just going to make some thick and thin lines here. I see this is almost all black right in this section, right in here. So I'm just going to actually probably fill that in with black. Or maybe some watercolor, some dark watercolor might be fun. I'm just going to follow the spiral, and probably be easier to just follow the way I originally started. and try to stay on your pencil line. But if you veer off, if you steer off, go with it. Don't worry about it being perfect. And there's no perfection here. There's just the flow of your hand and the ink, your pen. If you're using a felt tip pen, I'm kind of using, well, it's a Zig Millenium, similar to the Micron. I like it. I like it because it makes nice waterproof lines. Micron does too. But I like them because if I do want to watercolor later, I can. So I've got my general outline of my little spiral, and I'm just going to keep working these beautiful little curved shell, whatever these were. And I just can imagine this sea creature in ancient times swimming or floating on the bottom of the ocean, or whatever it was, whatever we were in our Earth many years, many years ago. And my friend Barbara, she was such an avid rock collector, and she loved photograph. She was a photographer, very talented. And this was one of her photographic subjects. She loved taking photos of that. So in the practice of me drawing this special piece, I'm feeling connected to this person. She passed away almost 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And so, there's a way I'm kind of reconnecting with her in a little, sort of in a way, I feel like I am. And that feels really good, just to kind of say, hello. And I'm just looking at this piece very closely, closer than I ever looked at it before, actually. Seen this been in my office for a really long time, just sitting on my windowsill, but now I'm really seeing it, really seeing it for the first time ever. And that is another thing about when you're drawing something, whether it be, something like this, or a leaf, or a simple rock, you'll notice shapes or nuances and shading and things that you would never notice before. But drawing gives you a totally different perspective and intimate view of something that you never would see if you weren't drawing it. So that's why drawing is such an amazing. It's not about, I'm going to make a drawing so I can give it to someone or sell it, or, it's not about that. It's about the experience of really seeing something completely and thoroughly, seeing something with your eyes, using your hand, and it's just amazing how it really, you will see something way deeper than you will ever see if you just looked at it or took a photo. That's something in the days of our phones and our cameras, we want to take a picture that's an Instagram worthy picture or something, and sometimes we lose the experience, the total experience, because we're looking through a lens. So taking a little time out of your day and just grabbing a little something, even if it's a shoe, a shoe from your closet, or it could be an object, a cup of tea or cereal bowl or something, and just stop and spend some time and just draw it, just sketch it, put it in your journal, and then really see it for the first time. So I've got this little drawing. I think I'm happy with that little drawing. I'm going to leave this little spiral there so you can see it if you do want to use it. I'm going to just draw some spirals going out here, kind of to complete this. Now I've got this feel of the shell or this fossil, and now I'm just going to do a spiral. And I think I'm going to close it off kind of like the way a shell would be. And same thing, I'm going to do my spiral. And a spiral is a really amazing, has so many meanings to so many cultures. Now this one, I'm changing it completely. I'm just going to go like that. So I will erase at some point some things here. I'm just going to keep this spiral. Maybe I'll put maybe just a little darker line in the center. Okay, now I will erase a couple of things because I did change the spiral significantly down here. So I'm going to wait for the ink to dry, and I'll just get rid of my pencil lines, if you have any. I'm just going to get rid of those. And now I'm going to think about the words that invoke, what this spiral is to me and or to culture. And I'm going to start writing. Now, I probably shouldn't do this while I'm talking, but I think I'll start to write, and if I'm quiet, just keep drawing your drawing, because I might be quiet while I'm doing this. And then you can also put little, if you find you need to just fill an area that doesn't have the words, you can fill it with a shape. However you want to fill this page so that it completes, and I'll show you what I mean, so you can see how that one's filled. And this is filled. So that's kind of where we want to go. It becomes more regular. You really connect with the words you're writing, and it's just a practice. It's so special. It's a form. It's a physical meditation.
Sure.
However, we pray and meditate, whatever we do to get ourselves connected and slowed down and have peace and calm. And this is just a great way. It's a physical way of doing it, because you're not only using your mind with the words, you're using your eye-hand coordination. So that's 3 things that you are focusing your attention on. If your position, another thing I probably should mention is make sure you're sitting in a really comfortable position. You're not twisted, you're not leaning, with your 2 feet planted on the floor, back straight. I tend to slouch a lot. I sit at my desk and I slouch. So I have to remember to sit with my back straight, and I can, move my chair out a little so my bottom is farther away from me, but my back you want your back to be more straight than it is hunched over. So however you do that, position yourself, and then you'll feel really good when you're doing this. And it's just a fun little practice. So I'm going to just stop on this one because I have some other thoughts and I can't think and talk at the same time. But I really this is important to me to say something that I really want to say on that. But I wanted to show you the next thing, which is, so here's this one here. So what we'll have, see, all this is lost right now. I mean, you've got all these words and all these patterns. So what I think would be the final part of this is to take your finished words, your word patterns, or your word drawings, and I'm going to put this little paper around it because I like to protect my table, but I'm just going to put some paper around it. And what I have is some watercolors. I used actually some ink tints, which is a different style of watercolor. It's actually it has a binder in it that makes it really kind of permanent. And I noticed it just soaked right into the paper, and I didn't like it that much, but that's okay. I still like this. But now I'm going to try just a regular watercolor and see if I have any better results. If not, I don't care. It's okay. It's just a practice. So I've got just some plain watercolors here. If you have craft paints or something like that, anything really that you want to paint with. So let's keep when we do this, I'm one who likes to just color everywhere. More colors the merrier. If you give me 36 colors, I'll put 36 colors on the page. Today, simplify. Think of your favorite color in the whole world. What is it? It could be, if it's red, if it's blue, purple, whatever your favorite color, the color that gives you joy, that's the color range you want to do on your. So I do like blue, and I'll probably do some blue again because I just love blue. But maybe I'll introduce just a little violet just to cool it off a little bit. So I'm going to keep my colors to 2, and that's blue and violet, because I do love blue. It's very peaceful for me. And I'm just going to mix a little blue, and I've got a nice, kind of a soft brush. It holds a lot of water. And then I'm going to throw in this really pretty, there's like a purple color. Ooh, yeah, that's a pretty one. because those are on the same family. You know, if I were to go blue with a yellow, or no, that's not too bad, but if you go opposite colors, you'll get brown. So try to keep them, whatever your colors, if you're going to get a couple of colors, or three even, keep them in the same color family. So blue, yellow, and green, those work together. Blue, yellow, and red would make kind of a brown or a blackish color. So don't, you know, just try to keep them in the same family. And that if you're thinking of the color wheel, just try to do that. So I'm going to mix up, I've got these, I'm not going to put any green because the violet would cancel out that green. So I'm just going to stick with these colors here. I've got another blue I'm just going to play with. It's more of a, it's a pretty blue. I don't know what, it's like a, I don't know what that is. It's just pretty. So I've got my colors and I'm just going to start with a light wash and I'm going to start at the top. And I'm going to see how it soaks in. And I don't want to cover my doodles. So I'm going to, my little patterns here, I'm going to just avoid that. So this is where I have to be slow and thoughtful. I'm noticing that this paint soaks in slightly different than the ink tint. So it's interesting how colors are. So when you're watercoloring, if you are watercoloring, or if you're using even a thinned out acrylic, you want to leave it transparent. You want your paint, so you want to be able to see your words through your paint. So don't use an opaque color, use a transparent color, and just work from the top going down or from the side going to left to right. You know, something so you can keep kind of continuing this wash. Now I'm noticing too that this dries out beforehand. So what I'll do is I'll stop right at where the word is, and that's not so bad or I can just go like quickly down the page. I don't want to cover up any of my fun little doodles. So I'm just going to go, here's my purple. I'm going to bring it down here. And I've got a very wet, you can see how wet that is. I'm not shy about how much water I'm putting on this. I'm just going to let lots of water kind of surround. Just try not to cover up my doodles. And that's the part where you have to be mindful about that. Or your drawing that you did, if you made a leaf or a rock, and your shapes are going to look, they're going to stand out so beautifully because you've kind of surrounded it with your favorite color. I love this blue, whatever this blue is. It must be I love phthalo blue because phthalo blue is so pure. It's just so, it's like almost like a cyan blue if you look at the color wheel, or not the color wheel, but the printing, you know, the inkjet printers or TV colors. The cyan is really is your primary blue. You can also make marks, like I'm making some marks in here just to kind of cover up my little brush stroke or where the wash is dried. I'm just going to come and make maybe a feeling of water. That's another thing I love. Water. If I can get in a lake or the ocean or a river or even a bathtub, I'm a happy camper. So, you know, these are just things that give you joy, and then you've got beauty that happens. You're just kind of taking a time out of your day to just embrace the beauty, whatever that is that you have in your hand, that thing you're drawing, that piece. And if I took away, there we go. If you want me to, there, I've got that spiral there if you still want to use that. I just realized I took it away. And then I'm just looking at the words that I wrote again, and I'm enjoying those words, the flow of those words. Now, it doesn't always flow, words don't always flow out like that. So I'm not, you know, it just happens that time. And if you find that you did some words that you just didn't, the flow just wasn't really what wasn't what you really wanted, you can use a more opaque color and you can just kind of show the hint of the words. So there's all kinds of ways to do this. I've got some little patterns going, and I'm just softening the words. So what I'm doing is I'm bringing out the shapes so you can see the shapes a little bit more. And I might even go so much as to almost darken or cover up. It takes a little more work to read what's under there, but I think that's kind of fun. And I'll just go across, maybe try to emphasize some words. Here we go. This one's the word slowly. That's a slowing down. I mean, we tend to go so fast. I know that for me, with all the demands, like there's social media now with work, we want there's you got to post this and post that, and that's I like to I think slowing down and just experiencing without thinking about how it's shared. Just experience it for its full worth, whatever it is. So there it is. I'm going to just stop there. I think maybe I'll just throw that in. And I need to let that dry. It's completely wrinkled now. But so you can see what happened is I brought the focal, now this is much more seen. And of course, that will dry it a lot lighter than it looks right now. If you do have some areas that are too dark or too puddly, which I see I've got a lot, I'm just going to blot them up. And I can take a rag or a tissue and blot those little areas that are just too much, and it softens it a little bit. This paper, this journal has much more absorbent paper than most journals that I use. If you have a journal that you want to do more watercolor effects on, I would suggest getting a watercolor medium, something you can put onto the journal. So there is that.